We start? Yeah. Mike Hamilton in the house on the wheels of steel, looking like Wolfman Jack.
Doing the best I can.
Mike's getting us all squared away here. I am Pete Sousa. This is the Pete Sousa Show, sponsored by, we got a bunch of sponsors. We just had our folks, by the way, we're presented by Slovakics, but we had our folks from Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. Live and let live, but that guy he was on my corner. But we had the good people from Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. They were in here today, and doing some stuff with them as we continue to grow our relationships here with local businesses and sponsors and continue to grow the show. Thank you to everybody who's checking us out. We continue to kind of rock and roll and climb the charts numbers wise. I'd also, if you want to watch this, that's great. Keep watching on our YouTube channel here, but feel free to go ahead and like and subscribe, right? To the Pete Sousa Show. I never say that, Mike. Also, the payoff. If you got somebody in your life who's struggling with addiction, I want you to go there to the payoff with Pete, Stories of Sobriety. Check that out.
Payoff's a great show.
You're supposed to be on, dude.
I'm supposed to be on today.
Are you going to do it?
Yeah, I told you I would.
Nice.
I don't back out.
Mike is sober, by the way. We're not just like reaching, right?
Yeah.
Mike, the Slovakics logo is missing on the screen.
Uh-oh. Let's get that.
How about that? We got somebody dialed in.
There we go, Pete.
Is it up
Slovakics? I stop every single time I go through West. Like every single time.
Dude, so do I.
And I used to work in West. So I taught art at West High School, middle school. And
you did?
Yeah, for about a year. A lot of these kids.
When did you teach art at West High School?
It's been a little bit, but yeah, I did that. Left there and went back to TSDC, which was a mistake. But West, best place I ever taught. Wonderful people. And I would definitely cross the highway and go to Slovakics rather than any other place.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Loose meat, baby. Loose meat kolaches with the cheese. Woo, baby.
We are going to do a remote show from Slovakics coming up here in a little bit, which we're pumped about doing that. We're also going to do one at Socorro Family Ford. So we're getting out and about in the community, as we like to say. Thank you to OU Bunny for checking in with us and keeping us honest. Sponsorship.
Yeah, thank you, OU Bunny.
Yeah, hit the comment section.
Not sure who that is,
or
but
just go straight text. Come on.
I don't know who it is.
It's Christy.
Oh, well, thank you, Christy.
Yeah. Just when I thought we had graduated from friends and family as far as who was watching, we're reminded.
She's doing a great job with the Slovakics thing. Hey, did you notice that it stands out a little more now?
Oh,
like you asked me to.
Thank you very much. I got a note from Robert West at KWTX, and he said, "Hey, that Slovakics logo should pop a little more.
Yeah,
let me know if you need help with that." So
let me know if you need help with that.
I don't know what that meant.
Do I take offense to that, or do I thank him?
No, thank him.
Okay,
thank him.
You got it.
So it's funny you mentioned the friends and family stuff. I remember. I'll tell you a quick story before we get into the events of the day. So I was working for the Charlotte Bobcats, and we were terrible. But we had a bunch of great players who weren't getting in any trouble. And in truth, we were building a nice organization. There was a lot of intention, obviously there should be, but from our president, Ed Tapscott, and Bernie Bickerstaff, and we were saving a lot of money on the salary cap. We had built a team that was competitive. But, at the end of the day, you're an expansion team, so you're not very good. In the second year, we started to get better. And our assistant coach, JB Bickerstaff, who is now a head coach in the NBA, JB played at Minnesota. He played at Oregon State, and then he finished up at Minnesota. When he was at Minnesota, he played with a guy named Kevin Burleson. Kevin Burleson, his older brother, is Nate Burleson. Obviously, Nate, his star, has completely just rocketed, right? Now he's on CBS Mornings. He's on the NFL Today. You can find him just about everywhere. He calls games on the NFL Network, but he was also, before that, a great wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. And it's understandable why Nate has accomplished so much, because he is an incredible person. And his brother Kevin was an incredible person. Now, remember, Kevin played with JB Bickerstaff at Minnesota. So it's late in the season, and we needed a point guard, right? The Charlotte Bobcats did. So Bernie Bickerstaff acquires Kevin Burleson. And when I tell you, there was no NBA team looking to hire or to sign Kevin Burleson. It wasn't happening. So, but we signed him. Kevin actually started to get minutes. I remember he would come in. We had Brevin Knight was our point guard, and Brevin actually was playing out of his mind. He had a great couple of seasons in Charlotte, and Kevin was like the third point guard. But injuries, whatever. Sometimes that guy ends up playing. I remember Kevin didn't make a shot for like the first 3 months of the season, and it kind of became a running joke. Kevin was the best guy in the world, and he was probably a decent defender. Other than that, he was a liability on the basketball court. Love Kevin, love his family. Bernie Bickerstaff was an amazing basketball mind, but this was a situation where he saw a quick fix. He knew that Kevin wouldn't be a problem. I don't think he planned on him playing that much, but injuries and other things forced Kevin into action. And we had this scout, right? His name was Kenny Williamson. Kenny was a New York guy. He'd been with the Knicks for a very long time. He loved Bernie, and he was a great scout. God rest his soul. If you came in contact with the Eggman, that was his nickname, you know exactly who I'm talking about. The Eggman was a special dude, and I was lucky as a young PR guy to just be around the Eggman and some of his amazing stories about New York basketball, about scouting some of the best players of all time. He had seen it all. And at one point in time, I was privy to a conversation where Eggman was talking to another front office executive about the state of affairs with the Bobcats and, the Kevin Burleson acquisition. And I don't think Eggman liked where things were going. And he just looked at the guy and he looked down at the ground. He said, man, this friends and family shit, it's got to stop. It's got to stop right here. We're all going to be looking for jobs. And truth be told, it did stop. I don't think Kev finished the season with us. Maybe he did. Because I do remember doing like off-season caravans with him. But anyways, Kevin Burleson, an amazing guy. Probably not the most amazing basketball move. Mike, can we turn that light on up there? I mean, I need all the help I can get, right? Former TV guy. That's actually a little better, man. All right. So we got the light going now. And
Christy, please don't kill me.
Trust me, she knows I need all the help I can get, but she knows you're dealing with me. I would also want to talk today about Jerry Jones. And the reason I want to talk about Jerry Jones is there's some new audio coming out of Dallas. Jerry does a weekly radio show, which he's been doing for a very long time. And Jerry Jones can take this interview wherever he wants. He does it now with the Cowboys flagship station. That's the station that carries the Cowboys games. Now, so keep in mind, the Cowboys are a big ticket item. Obviously in Dallas, and they're huge to have on your airwaves. If you have the Cowboys on your airwaves, you can that sponsorship sells itself, and I can't even imagine the astronomical numbers it goes for. So Jerry is having a good relationship with Jerry Jones is important to these guys on this station. But the Cowboys, as they've been outscored 75-0 in the first half of their last 4 home games. This is a team that didn't lose a home game in the regular season all last year. Got annihilated in the playoffs by Green Bay, and then it's just been hapless at home specifically since the end of last year. But let's listen to Jerry Jones take these guys to task who are asking him hard questions about the roster right now.
This is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask
why. Job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
Jerry,
okay? Y'all really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong and without going over the rights.
All right, so that was Jerry Jones, 82 years of age, 2 days after his birthday, where the Cowboys were annihilated, right? They fall into 3-3. They lost 47-9 at home against Detroit. That was Shan and RJ. I can't believe we're still marching out these radio names. Shan and RJ, every day on Odyssey's 105.3 The Fan. I mean, look, if somebody were like, hey, we'll give you a great living and you can host a show in Dallas, and it's going to be Pete and the Man. I mean, so long as I wasn't the man, I might be okay with it, but it's still kind of crazy. I have a couple thoughts about that. My first thought is, look, you want to poke the bear. Hey, like this all is part of the deal, right? Like if you want to ask hard-hitting questions to someone like Jerry Jones, who will give you a little bit, right? And who in a certain kind of mood, which I'm sure when you can poke him and when you can, if you've been covering him for long enough, you can kind of pull that off maybe, especially after a win but this team is in bad shape right now. And these guys, some of the folks on talk radio, some of the guys who do what I do, and I've spoken about it here many times, and I spoke about it with Cam earlier in the day. Like there's so much. I know there is so much we don't know, right? And everybody loves. It's almost now to the point where it's like, come up with something else besides like Jerry Jones has to go. That's me talking. That's not like conventional wisdom. Like, look, the team last year was like 14-2 or 14-3. Like, and I might have gotten that record wrong, but I think that's right in the regular season. And they lost in the playoffs. The year before that, the team was good. I mean, look, every year for the past 3 years, I think they've won at least 12 games. That's a good, like the pieces are there. Like, I don't want to hear like they're 3-3 right now, and they have gotten annihilated, and it has been embarrassing this season at home. But like the fact of the matter is, like, let's stop, come up, give me something new other than the Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones is the guy who is bringing all this talent to town, then like obviously he's doing a good job. Like I get it. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1997, I think, right? Super Bowl 30 with Barry Switzer, which is a great article on ESPN.com.
Greatest coach ever.
Switzer?
No, luckiest coach ever. Sorry, I misstated myself.
First, he was an amazing college coach. Probably, wasn't necessarily the perfect guy for that job. And I'm not saying that Jerry Jones is perfect. I mean, obviously, he's got a huge ego. He lets that get in the way of prudent business decisions from time to time. But I mean, the guy is terribly successful. And what he's done with the Cowboys as far as making money is ridiculous. Now, I heard someone say the other day, I think it was Tony Kornheiser, and this was a pretty good point. And Tony said, look, I believe that Jerry Jones is addicted to the attention, and people are always talking about his Cowboys teams, and the Cowboys are always in the news. And I don't think that Jerry's addicted to that and kind of saying, screw it, as far as the football product is concerned and taking that over the football product. I think two things can be true at once. I think that he is addicted to the attention. I think that the Cowboys are a drug for Jerry Jones. And they're a pretty strong drug, I would imagine, because everybody's always talking about the Cowboys. The Cowboys lost to the Lions on Sunday, and the next day, ESPN First Take spent the first 20 minutes of their show talking about a Cowboys team that had lost. I mean, there's something to be said for that. Now, when it comes to Jerry Jones, I think that he has put the talent in place. Maybe some of his coaching decisions have been suspect. They have been suspect, right? But I'm not here. I'm not here for it. Like, let's sit here and annihilate Jerry Jones. Yeah, he could have made the roster better in the offseason. He didn't. And there is a little bit of delusion with that. But every year we're talking about the Cowboys being one of the best teams in the NFL. The Eagles with Jeffrey Lurie, I can just speak from stuff that I've had a front row view to. They found a way to win a Super Bowl, and he hadn't been around for that long. The previous owner to Jeffrey Lurie was Norman Brayman, a car salesman. And he was not the best owner, right? But he got out of the way. And I think that's the whole point with Jeffrey Lurie. Like, these guys are getting out of the way. Jerry Jones is making football decisions, but those football decisions are putting people in place, and they're getting so close. So I don't know. I think it's just tired that the old, like, it's Jerry Jones's fault. Like, let's get rid of Jerry Jones. It's like, come on, give me something else. Like, he's not Donald Sterling. And, he probably isn't Jerry West or Jerry Buss either, right? But he's somewhere in the middle. And I think that there's just we're a little too, everybody's it's become easy now, and it's tired. And those two local radio hosts, I'd be interested to see what happens, because I've been in that position before as a media member where, it's easy to ask, and I don't really do this because, one, I don't love confrontation. If I loved confrontation, I would have been an investigative journalist, because I find that stuff fascinating. I think that one of the reasons I am ultimately drawn towards sports and, I love calling games is because, one, I think I'm pretty good at it. And two, it's a celebration, and I like celebrations. I got sober, and I wouldn't still be sober if it wasn't fun being sober, right? It's a blast. And so I drank because it was a quote unquote celebration, right? So it kind of all comes together as far as, like, I like football, I like sports, I like the celebration aspect of it. It's the toy department, and it's a lot of fun. But you have to be careful when you like maybe hide behind a microphone and you ask these tough questions, that you're going to get pushback like that. I haven't heard Jerry Jones explode, or maybe he has. I'm sure he has. But he can't threaten to take their jobs, like the guys from the Dallas Morning News, or like Mosley, and Ed Werder, like those guys who have covered the team, whether, Mosley was on the beat for the Dallas Morning News as he was for such a long time, or ESPN Central Texas, or Ed Werder working for ESPN, or now WFAA. Those guys both have the Doomsday podcast, which you can hear right here on the Rogue Media Network. But I don't know that Jerry has undressed them like that. I'll talk to Matt and find out, but those guys got undressed because at the end of the day, he's probably paying a portion of their salaries through the Cowboys relationship with that radio station. So Shan and RJ are, they're getting a lot of run. I've never heard the show. I'm sure it's pretty good. I'm sure they're really talented, but they tried to take the owner to task, and Jerry wasn't having it. And I will tell you that I don't think that Jerry is all the way wrong. I mean, clearly he's a guy who's pissed off. He's having a bad day. And, what do you expect him to say? So, hey, how about them Cowboys, right?
Can I ask you a quick
week? Yeah,
can I ask you a quick question?
Mike Hamilton, everybody.
So, I watch all of the Cowboys games. I am not a fan of theirs, but my wife is a huge fan. So we end up watching all the games. Plus, we live here, and so, I mean, it's part of the deal. And
you do the Doomsday podcast with Matt and Ed afterwards.
I do. Yeah, I do. Great guys. And then, so I told my wife the other day, and maybe this is obvious to everybody out there, but me and I just, had a moment where I could think clearly, but their success is their whole problem. If they weren't so successful, they would probably be better by now. You understand what I'm saying with that?
100%. That is a great point.
Because they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
They're America's team. Well, number one, drop that. Number two, they're just successful enough to never get a good quarterback. I mean, how bad are they going to have to tank to finally get their guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't get out of their own way is what the issue is. And so you end up paying two guys, and then you hear nothing but that about these two guys. Yeah. And then you pay nobody else because you can't really afford it necessarily.
Yeah.
and then you can't go to the draft. So I mean, where is the well that you choose from?
Yeah,
you
and I don't know that the America's team was bestowed upon them by NFL Films decades ago because they did a Dallas Cowboys highlight film, and it was when the Cowboys were doing so well, and they called it America's Team, their yearly highlight video in the 70s, and it stuck, right? And for good reason. They were a perennial power throughout the 70s and into the 80s, and then once again when Jerry bought the team. But I understand what you're saying as far, and even from an ownership standpoint, like there is an argument to be made, like, hey, they're always making money hand over fist, like most NFL teams are, but the Cowboys are making a ridiculous amount of money. They're probably one of, I think, with the Yankees and maybe another organization, the most lucrative organizations in pro sports. You throw in like one of those soccer teams, but that's a good point, Mike.
Well, thank you, Pete.
There you go. Wolfman Jack weighing in. Yeah. All right. We'll be back. We got Cam Stewart coming up. And then later on, we're going to talk MLB playoffs with our reporter on the scene. Nick Pict is in the Bronx for the Yankees. Yankees win last night. They're up 1-0. Mets and Dodgers tied 1-1. Cam Stewart coming up. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete. Sports.
All right, we're back. By the way, we're having a little bit of trouble with the with
It's all me, Pete.
no
all
with
me.
the feed. Hold on, dude. The problems today, and this is when working in local TV for 8 years really comes into play for me, because stuff goes sideways all the time. And yeah, so right now, Mike is producing the show, and when your producer says,
God, do I miss Zach?
when he says, I don't know how Zach does this every day, that's when you know you're in deep. And I'm starting to get text messages from people that actually watch the show. They're like, it's glitching, and then the glitching thing's out of our control.
The glitching thing I got nothing to do with.
Okay.
The glitch is hey,
I'm looking at the monitor here. I'm raising my hand, so maybe it's getting better.
if I can ever say anything, I'm saying AT&T and business internet. Yeah, you can stay away, folks. Stay away.
So we are live, as we always are, from the 21st floor of the Alico building here in Central Texas, Waco to be specific. The Jets are set to finalize a trade. This is big news in the NFL. The Jets are going to acquire Devontae Adams, okay, and they're going to get him from the Raiders. They're finalizing the trade. So, hey, again, I like this sort of the sexiness to big time sports, and this is a sexy situation now in New York, and here is why. I mean, you just fired your coach after 5 games, which Bill Belichick, by the way, or 6 games. Bill Belichick just opened up a can on Woody Johnson and the Jets ownership last night. He was on the Manning cast, and of course, Bill Belichick, if you remember. So Bill Parcells was being penalized by the NFL. And when he was being penalized by the NFL, he had signed to be the head coach of the New York Jets. Now, because of specific things surrounding his penalty by the National Football League, Bill Parcells was initially thought to, okay, he's not going to be able to coach. So while he can't coach, Bill Belichick will be the head coach, and Bill will be the coach in waiting. This is for the Jets. Remember, Belichick was always tied to Bill Parcells in New York with the Giants. They had great success there, won 2 Super Bowls, and then they ended up coming over to the Jets together. But as Bill was waiting out the rest of his suspension, and honestly, I forget exactly what it was for, but he was not able to coach for some, I think, personnel reason, or maybe maybe the Giants had it in their contract that he couldn't go coach for another team, so he had to wait a year. Maybe it was something like that. So Belichick was the coach. But anyways, that gets resolved, and then Parcells is now the head coach of the Jets, and Belichick is his defensive coordinator. But Bill Belichick was officially the head coach of the Jets. So while Bill Parcells is the head coach of the Jets, the team gets so much better. And obviously that's thanks in part to Bill Belichick. And the whole thing that goes on, though, is that Bill Parcells is coming down to the end of his time with the Jets. He had a major heart problem. It was taking a real toll on him. Remember, after this, he would make another stop with the Cowboys, obviously, but he felt like coaching was done for him. So while he's talking about pulling away, there's a lot going on. He wanted to hand over the coaching reins to Bill Belichick. This is a story a lot of people know. I'm just kind of going through it here because it's interesting. Maybe you don't know. And so at the time, the Jets were owned by Leon Hess and the Hess family. Very reputable ownership group, and very honorable group. They were sold to the Johnson family, right, of Johnson & Johnson. So now Woody Johnson is the owner of the team. Okay. And this was towards the point in time where Parcells was handing the reins to Bill Belichick, and Parcells was going to run the team, right, from the front office. And Belichick was, again, the head coach of the Jets. Again, he hadn't coached a game. So he was the head coach of the Jets, officially named the coach. And he was not happy with the situation as far as he felt like he was thrust into the role by Bill Parcells. He didn't like the ownership group, the Johnson family, at all. So what did he do? He found a way to wiggle out of it. And really, he didn't find any specific, like, crazy loophole. He wrote on a napkin, I retire as HG of the NYJ, BB. Like, and last night, the Mannings were asking him, like, dude, you literally put your resignation on a cocktail napkin, and you didn't even feel as though you could write out head coach. You wrote HC. They didn't even get to NYJ. And he said, yeah, I was running out of real estate there. And Belichick is showing a sign of himself, doing the rounds on Inside the NFL and also working with the guys on the Manning cast and showing up in commercials. And also he's got a new relationship, which whatever you think of that, he's clearly happy. So like there's a whole nother side of him that we're seeing, but they talked about Robert Saleh and the fact that he got fired after a 2-4 start. Or I'm sorry, no, it was. They were 2-3. It was 5 games. So they talked about that Saleh was fired after a 2-3 start. And in no uncertain terms, Bill Belichick said, hey, that's what you get in New York right now. You look at the graveyard of coaches who have come before with this ownership group, which is Woody Johnson, right? And a lot of folks feel like Woody Johnson had an axe to grind with Robert Saleh because he was working for Donald Trump. And he was, I don't want to say he was working for Donald Trump so much as he was appointed as an ambassador by the Trump administration. So he was overseas a lot. And he didn't oversee the hiring of Saleh. His brother did. So now Woody Johnson's back and he is not having it with Saleh. He made the decision by himself. So now here we are. So now we have, and this is funny because it goes to our first segment. We've got another crazy owner in the works, right? Because Jerry, you could say, and when I say crazy owner, I'm doing the air quotes. But now here's Woody Johnson. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. And by the way, my man and college teammate, one of the coolest dudes of all time, Joe Douglas, is the general manager of the New York Jets. Not a guy I've got on speed dial. We certainly are on some text chains together. Joe is an amazing dude and clearly an amazing football mind, and was a hell of a left tackle too, at a Lee Douglas High School in Richmond, Virginia. I don't think it's called that anymore, by the way. So we see now Woody Johnson, right? He has really gone all in on Aaron Rodgers, and in a sense where Robert Saleh wasn't getting the job done. You figure you're on borrowed time with this quarterback, right? Aaron Rodgers, one of the best of all time, regardless of what you say about his Super Bowl tally. And you understand that you have a finite amount of time with this guy. So now you're starting to panic a little bit, right? Robert Saleh gets canned after 5 games. If you're going to fire a guy after 5 games, you might as well have fired him in the offseason. But again, you talk about great general managers. They used to say this about Jerry West, like you got to be quick to admit you're wrong, right? So if you made a mistake, and by the way, Joe Douglas had nothing to do with this firing by all accounts. It was Woody Johnson. So if you come to a conclusion that you want to make a change and that you made a mistake over the offseason by keeping your head coach, well, go ahead, make the move, fire him. So I guess that's what went on. You can only assume that's what went on with Woody Johnson because he sees only a small window of time left with Aaron Rodgers. Fast forward to last night. They lose on Monday Night Football, a game that the Jets were in the entire time and maybe should have won. The end of the game where Rodgers heaves it downfield for Mike Williams, one of the targets now. He's become like a key target for the Jets, which highlights their issues at wide receiver. It wasn't a great throw, but trying to adjust to it, Mike Williams falls down and the ball gets intercepted. The game is over. It's very clear that he likes going to Gardner as one of his favorite targets. I'm sorry, not Gardner, but he doesn't like going to Williams, right? He's got other favorite targets on the Jets. Mike Williams isn't one of them, but it's a wide receiving core that could be improved. Well, now here's Davante Adams. Okay, Davante Adams, very close with Aaron Rodgers. So you would see that, or one would believe that this is an Aaron Rodgers move. Let's take a look now at some of the details. As we mentioned, this whole thing is developing right now before our eyes. But they're trying to save their season. That's how Rich Cimini is putting it. Now, Rich Cimini is the ESPN beat writer for the New York Jets. He says, determined to save their season from ruin and preserve their hopes of ending a half-a-century Super Bowl drought, the Jets are finalizing a blockbuster trade for star wide receiver Davante Adams. That's as sources told ESPN and Adam Schefter today. Adams took a red-eye flight into New Jersey early this morning with the deal basically in place and is scheduled to take a physical to finalize the trade, a source told Schefter. The Jets are assuming the balance of his contract, his remaining salary. Let's see, what else? Okay, so here is okay. The trade will reunite Adams with quarterback Aaron Rodgers in hopes of recreating one of the most dangerous duos in recent NFL history. And here's the quote. "We're back, man," Adams said while briefly joining Rodgers at the Jets facility in Florham Park, New Jersey for the quarterback's weekly appearance on the Pat McAfee show. So here we go at the fall NFL owners meeting, which that's what Jerry Jones was talking about earlier in his radio hit. At the fall owners meetings in Atlanta, Jets owner Woody Johnson confirmed a trade for Adams is in the hopper. That's in quotes. Okay, now this is wild because we've got two situations right now. I took up for Jerry Jones in the first segment, but of course now I am talking about the fact that I said don't blame Jerry Jones, but he is still an owner that you could consider somebody who's got a lot of control and is sort of like pulling all the triggers to everything that goes on. Well, let's look at the Jets. We've got the same deal. We've got a half-a-century drought for a Super Bowl. That's longer than the Cowboys, right? Woody Johnson has never won a Super Bowl, and he certainly hasn't made much progress in the way of that as owner of the Jets. So now he's kind of doing that wild hair stuff, right? Let's fire the coach. All right, this is Aaron Rodgers' time. Well, let's make a trade for Davante Adams. That'll fix it. Remind you of they're kind of remind you of each other. As Mike Hamilton is back in the room. Mike, is Nick in the waiting room?
Nick is not here yet. No.
Okay, he's not in the waiting room. Okay, I wanted to make sure I saw that pop up there. But so that's another situation as we look at, are these owners taking like maybe too much control? I think in the case of Jerry Jones, again, he probably is, but at the same time, they've had pieces in place to win Super Bowls. They just have not done it. So from a personnel standpoint, he certainly has done all he can to get talent on the field. And hey, man, if you got enough talent to go undefeated at home and finish the season with home field advantage in the NFL playoffs and the NFC, then you've probably done a pretty damn good job putting the team together. So Jerry Jones did that. Woody Johnson reminding us all a little bit of Jerry Jones, right? As he continues to do everything in his power, right? He's going to will it to happen. And at the end of that statement for me, I, again, put a bow on it saying, like, this situation in New York is getting very interesting. And there's no place like New York to have a situation this palpable play out. All right, we'll be back with the final segment of the Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network. We're efforting Nick Picked to join us here down the stretch. And hey, man, it's a beautiful Tuesday, by the way, in Texas. We'll be right back after this.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
In the hole. Front door. baby.
Sports.
Oh, there. Hold on. We'll get to Nick picked in a second. Mike, you tell me when he looks like he's camera ready. Nick last night. Oh, I have one more of these peanut butter cups. That's the best when you're.
Wait, what kind of peanut butter cups are those?
So these are the Quest peanut butter cups.
What?
11 grams of protein, one net carbs. Not that matters. I don't care about carbs.
Yeah, but these are like the
no sugars. I'm trying to avoid the sugar.
These are like the Atkins.
You're reaching your hand
things.
out. Like
I know. It's what I do. But
they're not. No, it's Quest and the Atkins diet.
Those go right through you.
Mike, the Atkins diet was like that's dead and gone. Nobody's doing the
yeah,
Atkins
but it's just keto. It's the same thing.
Yeah, they put another name on it, I guess. I remember a couple
slipped and fell and hit his head. And died.
The Atkins diet. What happened? He did, right?
Yeah,
Mr. Atkins.
He like slipped and fell and hit his head and died. Yeah.
You want to talk about a diet that was all the rage in like the late 90s?
I did it several times.
Yeah, and you can drop some weight doing it.
Yeah.
But
you can also enlarge your heart really quickly.
Yeah, I don't know about the Atkins diet. But I do know Nick Picked is with us. Let's bring him in now. Hey, it's Bob Costas.
Hello, it's me here for all of you to see.
Nick, you were at the game last night.
Yeah, it was.
So that had to be one of the more electric atmospheres you've been a part of recently. Yankees back in the playoffs, home game in the ALCS on a Monday night while the Mets played earlier in the day, and across the river, the Jets are playing. What was the energy like in the city yesterday?
Honestly, I don't really know what the energy in the city was like because I mostly stayed home for like the whole day. And then we drove to, dude, my dad did a classic NYPD, like drove us to the stadium and then in 2 cars. So then he parked us in the retired NYPD spot that they all have over there and then got back in his car and drove home and left us with the car at free parking in the NYPD spot so that we could drive home from the game at 11 o'clock.
Okay, hold on. Break this down for me. So was your mom following?
No, we followed him in my mom's car, Shelly and I.
Gotcha.
But anyway, to answer your question about energy, once we got down to that area of the Bronx, like it definitely felt like it was time for October baseball. The air was crispy, like Billy's was bumping at like 4 o'clock. It was It was good vibes. Billy's is like the big bar in there. Like it's almost like a club, really.
Okay.
And then we watched.
What was it like as far as like fan to fan, like is it like a super festive thing? Like if you're wearing a Yankees jersey or a Yankees hat, are you like high fiving people?
No. At the end of the game, yeah, and like during the game, but like pregame, I think vibes were just kind of like, all right, let's get in there, get a lead, and then hopefully all goes well. Like Soto hit that home run, and it felt very much like it went from nervous energy to like, all right, we got this. Let's pile it on.
That was pretty awesome. I was watching that when it happened, and I consider myself, honestly, for somebody who flips around and doesn't watch the whole game, I felt lucky to have seen that, like a big home run in October by a superstar for the Yankees. I was like, oh, wow, like there's something going on here.
Dude, vibes were good at the stadium yesterday. I kept turning to Shelly and be like, the stadium feels good. The stadium has a lot of energy.
What's Shelly like at a game like that?
She was loving it. She thought it was fun. You know, that's the first playoff game I've ever been to.
Yeah, so I want a little bit more of on your experience there. Like you go into the game. First of all, how many years have you been going to Yankee games?
Oh, probably since I'm 3. So that's got to be 27 now.
And so you are there for a playoff game. How'd you get the tickets?
Well, I went on so we went home for the weekend. My sister was baptizing the baby.
I saw.
And so, yeah, we had to do the whole thing. So all weekend I was looking on all the apps, SeatGeek, StubHub, Game Time, all that stuff, just trying to find the best seats. And then we get home from all the baptism festivities at like 10 o'clock, and I'm scrolling the app and I find 228 right down the third base line. I found him for 183. And then I had a promo code from one of the podcasts that I listened to. So I ended up getting them for like 160 a piece for me and Shelly. So it's not bad.
No, not at all.
Yeah, we were chilling.
So what did you think about the game itself last night and the Yankees and their chances?
I think that Rodon pitched his ass off.
Yeah.
And like you could even tell from where we were that his shit was playing for sure. Like a lot of like it looked like everything had cut on it. And I don't know, he doesn't really throw a cutter like that, but he kind of was last night. I was listening to something this morning on the plane ride home to Louisville, and they said that he had 25 swings and misses, which is the most in his career, but the most of, I think, any Yankee pitcher in the playoffs, which, like, that just goes to show his stuff was really playing last night. So I thought Rodon set the tone. I think after the first, like, 2 or 3 innings, Soto hit that homer, Rodon was dialed in, like, the 4th and 5th, and we just felt good. Like, the stadium was just feeling good, positive energy.
What
so
do you
it was good.
What's next for the Yankees and the Guardians in this series?
I think you have to win tonight, obviously. Cole's on the mound. You already have a 1-0 lead. You can't let that slip away. You have to get on there. You have to get on their ass early because Cleveland's bullpen is so good. So just keep making them use the bullpen. Like if you can get those less than A leverage arms, you got to get to them. So, I mean, they got Bybee is their best pitcher tonight for sure. I mean, all year. So if you can get to Bybee, you can get a couple runs off him and Cole can keep them to like 1. I think you got to feel good again.
All right. So I want you to talk a little bit about Weaver, right? Like, so for people for people that don't watch baseball all season long, certainly maybe they don't watch the Yankees because they're not in their market or they don't watch big national games. And you see this dude who's he looks like your paper boy, right? For to throw.
He's like 120 pounds soaking wet.
What is the deal with this kid? Tell me about it.
I don't think it's beyond hyperbole to say that right now Luke Weaver is the best relief pitcher in baseball.
Okay. Why is he so damn good?
He was good in the beginning of the year, and we knew it was going to be better for him because he went to full-time relief. He kind of changed his delivery a bit, less with the leg kick and more just kind of like a rock back into his back hip and like slingshot it. So he got like considerably more velocity on the ball. And it just kind of clicked. I don't know. It's been crazy to see though, dude. For him to go from basically the worst starting pitcher in baseball to a lockdown closer on the best team in the American League is pretty insane to think about. Like that's like Kurt Warner, dude. You go from bagging groceries to Super Bowl MVP, right? I mean,
and it just shows how much of all this stuff is mental.
Some, but I think he made legit changes to his delivery, knowing that he was going to pitch out of the bullpen in the winter and in spring training.
Take me across the country now. I want to get your quick thoughts on how it wrapped up with the NLDS. What did the Padres do to blow that? I mean, did they take themselves too serious after Game 3?
Honestly, I don't know, but like you have nobody else but yourself to blame for not scoring in Game 4 or Game 5. I mean, that's just inexcusable for a team that wants to like win the World Series. You can't do that. Now, granted, the Dodgers have sick bullpen arms.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that are super hard to hit. But if you're going to talk all that smack and then go out and get shut out for 18 innings, like, bro, you can't do that. Come on. It's over. I think I think the Dodgers stepped up, and I think the Padres just kind of like chose a bad time to get cold. I don't know. I mean, nothing more really to it than that.
What do you think about Tatis? And like, you know, there's a lot of flavor, a lot of celebration out there. I think it's a lot of fun, but certain baseball purists had a lot of issues with the way that the Padres conducted themselves during that series.
The funniest thing of all, and why I was hoping that the Dodgers would lose, is because Dave Roberts was talking talking wild, as if like people don't hate his team.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you guys are not the superheroes. No one likes you guys. So for you to get up here and be like, man, Manny Machado tried to murder me with the baseball because they're
Because he threw it in the dugout.
Chill out, dude. Chill out. I don't know. I don't care about that. I think Tatis, the more you talk about it, the better it is for the game, no?
Yeah.
So I don't care. Tatis is sick.
Yeah,
like
he's a lot of fun, dude.
Really good.
He's a lot of fun.
But I feel kind of bad because I wanted the Padres to win that series.
All right, so now we're NLCS. Like,
yeah.
Who do you not want to play?
The Mets.
Right? So why do you not want to play him? Is it strictly because there's the hottest team in baseball right now?
No, it's one reason and one reason only. It's because if we play the Mets and we lose to the Mets in the World Series, I will never fucking hear the end of it. and that's just something that I really don't have enough patience to deal with.
This is coming from a kid who grew up in Queens, cheering for the Yankees.
I mean, literally half of my people are Met fans and the other half are Yankees. So, like, I will never hear the end of it if we lose to the Mets in the World Series. Dodgers, you're supposed to lose to them, right? I mean, they spent, what, $1 gajillion in free agency? So, like, if you lose to the Dodgers, all right, you tip your cap. Yeah, like, you guys have 3 MVPs, $1 billion in payroll. God bless. The Mets, like, I don't know. I'm still sort of just amazed that the Mets are even here in general. Their pitching is not that good. Their bullpen is not that good. Their lineup is not that good. But they are just scorching hot. And that's, I mean, I guess that's scary to think about. But more so, I cannot handle the backlash if they were to win the World Series against the Yankees.
What do you foresee happening in that New York-LA series?
I think LA probably wins it in 7.
Okay.
I can't get over the hump that, like, the Mets starting pitching is going to somehow hold the Dodgers quiet all series long. I just can't, like, when you, like, gamblers would talk about, like, I can't get there on that spread or total or whatever. It's like, I can't find a way to allow myself to think that the Mets starting pitching is going to hold the Dodgers down for 7 games.
All right, well, I got one more question for you. Let's go back to football, or go to football.
How about the Jets, huh?
So I want to ask about the Jets. So how much is Woody Johnson to blame for what is now just kind of a mess?
I don't know, dude. Also, the Bills got Amari Cooper. That's kind of cool.
Yes.
I don't know, and I don't really care. I think sometimes the owners, like, we can all have an opinion about what happens, but at the end of the day, like, I think same thing with the Chiefs. I just told you last week, we'll do all this conversation in October, and then at the end of the day, the Chiefs will be in the AFC title game, and that's it. If in December the Jets are in the playoffs, then who cares? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if the Jets are in the AFC title game, or even if the Jets make the playoffs, what he did was a success. So we should, I know this is not how, like, the world works, because we want everything to happen immediately.
Yeah.
But who's to know if Woody Johnson's at fault? Who's to know if Woody Johnson's a genius? Who's to know anything? Everybody's going to have something to say, of course. But
yeah, but his track record as an owner is not good, Nick.
Neither are, like, 75% of owners.
Yeah.
Look at Jerry Jones.
Well, yeah.
Jerry Jones's track record is so good. I don't know. Not if you ask me.
One of the most the maligned owners in sports.
I mean, who is Jerry Jones?
Yeah, and
well,
honestly,
he's also the
I
general manager of the team, and the team isn't good. So, and I'm not even a Jet fan. I don't even like the Jets. But it's just like, how many owners are just out there dog shit? So I don't know. I mean, part of me is like, well, at least he tried to shake it up. And the other half of me is like, well, maybe he did a disservice. I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
by the way,
we'll circle back in December.
when you were following your father to the game last night, former
Yeah,
NYPD, retired NYPD cop. So how does that work? Did you guys park like in a place where he would walk back and meet you?
So we pulled over to one side street, both of the cars. He got out and asked the cop on duty, like, where we could park. And then they told him where to go. So he ran there with my mom's car, threw it in a spot, and then walked right back to our car and just took off. I was like, "You want to come and have a beer with us, like, and sit and hang out?" And he was like, Nah, I can't. I got to go to work. And he left.
So did the off-duty cop or the cop who was working, was he like, "Hey, no problem"? Did he see what had transpired? These guys aren't dummies.
No, he told my dad where to go.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, it's not like it's my dad doing it. It's they have like basically a section for NYPD over there.
It's a beautiful thing, dude. There's nothing like that city. Last night as a fan and yesterday, I really was, man, this is so cool. Like, as a total sucker for big time sports, I was like,
yeah.
The Mets won today. The Yankees are playing tonight. The Jets are playing across the river. That's how it was.
Dude, the only team to mess it up yesterday was the Jets. The Devils, Islanders, Rangers, Yankees, Mets all won.
No way.
Yeah. It was almost a full New York sweep. The Jets were the only ones to blow it.
All right, I got time for one more thing with you. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets' chances to pull it together this year?
I think they're better with Adams than they are without Adams.
Okay.
Because it's very clear that Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson don't have like that kind of chemistry.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's something that they have time to build. And so if they're in need of big plays, which clearly they are, he can't go to Mike Williams. He doesn't really trust Garrett Wilson yet. The offensive line isn't that good for them to really put the ball in Breece's hands 20 times yet. So he's going to need those kind of plays, and Lazard can only do so much. So
New York's nicked. Nick picked. I called you nicked. New York Nick baby. Yo, we'll talk to you next week with more baseball.
Dude, the game was so much fun. I wish I could go back to game 2 tonight. We had such a blast. Stadium was awesome.
Would you make a push to go to a World Series game now?
I don't know. I'm not in New York unless it's Thanksgiving, so that'd be a lot of money for me to pay for that. I don't know. It's possible, not probable.
All right.
But I would go back to game 2 in a heartbeat.
All right. We got to check out because we're up against it. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Nikki.
Peace.
That was Nick Pick. We'll call him New York Nick. I like that. Giving us everything we need to know about the MLB playoffs. And it's cool to have somebody who had as a fan, a front row seat last night.
When does this show start?
You got to talk to Nick, man.
Oh, okay.
You got to talk to Nick.
He's a good guy.
He's the man. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, rolls on 1 p.m. Central.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
We are Rogue Media Sports.